We're working on a projectile motion question where the height of an object that has been thrown up into the air is given by this equation, negative 4.9 t squared plus 20t at any time t seconds while it is flying in the air. Our third part of our equation here asks, when will the object be 100 meters above the ground? So in this case, we are given that our height is going to be 100 meters. So we can go ahead and, like our first part of this problem, plug that 100 meters into the h of t spot. So 100 equals negative 4.9 t squared plus 20t. Again, I don't want to factor this. There's really only one good way to solve this problem, and that is using quadratic formula. To do quadratic formula, we need to have all of our variables on one side of the equation so we can figure out what our a, b, and c are. So we're going to subtract 100 from both sides. So here, a is going to be negative 4.9, b will be 20, and c will be negative 100. So plugging this into quadratic formula, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, and we'll put that all over to a, which is negative 4.9. Now, we're going to take a minute and put just what is under the square root into the calculator. Do not try to put this whole fraction in the calculator at once. You're going to get a mess. Plug just what is underneath that square root in the calculator without the square root. And when you do that, you should get the number negative 1,560. So at this point, this should be negative 20 plus or minus the square root of negative 1,560 all over negative 9.8. Now, at this point, you should be going, oh, yeah, we learned this earlier. This square root of a negative means we're going to have an imaginary number answer here, which, yes, imaginary numbers are legitimate answers once we hit college algebra. However, can you imagine flying for a imaginary amount of time? Do you think that an imaginary amount of time is an amount of time that we can like fly through the air or something can be in the air? It is not. So, since this is imaginary or complex, we're going to say that there is no solution to this problem because something cannot fly for an imaginary amount of time. So, there must not be an answer to this question. So, one thing that we need to get in our head is that when a word problem or a real life situation or a graphing problem shows something that is an imaginary answer, then that is not a real answer in a real world problem. So, in that case, there is no solution to that particular question. But let's think about this question. Why is it that when I throw my projectile from the ground and it goes up into the air and it comes back down, why is there no solution for when it hits 100 feet? Why might that be a thing? Well, if you guessed that it never actually goes that high, you're correct. And later in the semester, we'll find a way to tell us that actually this thing maxes out at about 20.5 meters. So it never hits 100 meters, which is why there is no solution to this problem.